So I'm going to show you just to deburr these cases. Just run it just a couple times, not too much. Okay, so after trimming them, that was really easy to do. Then this, with this little tool, this is the tool put out by Lyman. Now it's got a pocket cleaner here that'll clean the primer pockets, and so I just run that just a few times in, and it's got different sizes. This thing actually has you can swap it out for small primers and whatnot. But then I've got you can swap it out, and now this will deburr the outside of the casings. And it doesn't take but just a couple times, and that's it. That's all you want to do. So what that does, that creates a piece of brass that is now sized and it's been deburred. So that's actually ready to start the reloading process. Now before I get too far, like I said, I already had the primers knocked out of that one. So the first step of this process out of this kit is that you're going to have to use this kit to knock that primer out. It's actually one of the easiest things to do, and it's also pretty fun. So that was it. Okay, so there's my primer. I've got so now I've got another casing that's ready. Usually what I do when I'm using this, I usually just deprime all my casings, and then when I start the actual reloading, I'll have them all ready. So while I've got this close, I'll just go ahead and put that in there and just size this case, and it's super. Okay, see, that one's doesn't need trimming, but it wasn't hard to do. But what it's allowed me to do now is I don't even have to. I'm not even worried about measuring. And what I do like about the lead loader is that they do come with a pretty decent set of directions, because the parts are in this just don't look like standard. They just really don't look like standard reloading parts. So we'll kind of now, one thing that I have seen, I've seen that people don't do, and to make this easier, is that for some reason people don't reload. When they're using these kits, they're not lubing the cases. Now this is just neck sizing, but I don't understand why they're not doing it. I guess they're just kind of saying, well, you don't have to. But there's a step. The way this thing actually works is we're just go ahead and do this. So the way this thing actually works is that you drive this case, you drive it down into this cylinder, So the way this thing works is you drive this case down into the cylinder. But I always use some type of case lube, because once you do that, so all right, so we're going to go ahead and let's do that. All right, that was pretty easy. Well, the next step in the process is you're about to prime this thing. You can get a primer ready. And actually, I use the top of my case lube to hold my primers. Now what you're going to do is you're going to flip this over, and this thing actually it's spring loaded that's holding this primer. And for some reason people have issue with this, and they say they can't, you know, when I see videos and they're like, well, you know, this doesn't work for me and I'm not able to do this. I think it's because they're not lubing their cases. Because what you're going to do is that you're going to drive this out, and you're going to drive it down on top of this primer that I have sitting. It's, you know, the bottom, you know, the bottom side is facing up, so it's going to be, I'm loading it into this cartridge now. So what I notice is that it's very solid at first, but as I keep driving it, I'm going to notice that what I just felt it, that it actually gets softer. And what's happened is when I drive this shell out, it starts hitting that spring-loaded bottom that's on this other thing. And so what I have now is I have a case that has now been primed, and the primer it's good and flush with the casing. But I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna do that again, because I think that's where people have trouble, and it's really not that hard. You learn to just feel it. Okay, so I just sized it by knocking it in there. Here's my primers. Okay, and then what we're going to do, we're going to flip this over on top of this primer. Alright, when I start driving this thing out, my casing is, right now, it's stuck inside this cylinder. So it's going to be very solid, but once it starts moving, and once it hits this base that has this spring load on it where this primer is, it's going to get soft, and you're going to feel that spring tension that's in your driver. So, alright, that started moving. I can feel it. Okay. I mean, and I can actually hear the difference. The sound changes. There's 3 different sounds that it goes through. So it's solid when it's stuck in, then it starts moving, then the sound mellows out, and then when it starts hitting the bottom of this, because this thing has a hard bottom on it, but this ring is spring tensioned. Whenever it starts hitting the bottom of that, and what's pushing your primer is when it starts sounding solid again. So there we go. We've got another one that's the primer's, you know, ready to go. So I think the reason people have trouble is that they're not lubing their cases. So maybe if they did that, they wouldn't have that problem, but it's pretty simple. I'll go ahead, I'll do another one. I don't know if you could hear that, but there's 3 different sounds that just happened right there, and you can just feel it. You can feel. I mean, after you do, you know, just a few. I'd say by the time you do 10, you'll feel like a pro with that, because I mean, you can hear it. It's actually pretty simple. And one thing I like about these Lee loaders, they've been out here too long, getting trash in my powder. Is that they come with these little measuring scoops. Now, one thing that I do differently, the way this is designed is that actually you would leave this in the tube. Like per the instructions, you would leave this in the tube. And what you do, you'd switch out the bases. So you would say, okay, I'm done with this base, and you're going to go with this base that has a hole in it, and so you don't have any issues with you don't have any issues of like accidentally firing off the primer. So the case actually sits in there, and you would slide this over the top. Now the way this is designed is that you can take your scoop of powder and you can dump it in here, and it kind of creates like a funnel, and it lets it go on down in your casing. The reason I don't do that is because with the cast bullets, I use like petroleum jelly to lubricate these bullets, and it gets inside of here, and what happens when I pour the powder in there, the powder wants to stick to, you know, all the lubrication that winds up sticking inside of here. So I actually do it a little bit different, you know, and you find that everybody's kind of got their own little techniques how they do that, but that's the reason I do mine a little different. But what I do, I just do it like this, and I got a funnel here. So to show you, pretty simple. One thing, to have accuracy, you have to have consistency. So when it comes to the powder, what I do, I take this card, this is the card that comes with it. Now one thing about these cards is that it shows you the bullet weight and then the powder options, and it gives you like an estimated velocity on these cards. So, but I actually, at this point in time, I already know what I'm going to use, and I just use a card to level off the casing. So there we go. All right, now we're ready to go with that one. Leave that there, and I'll go ahead and let's go ahead and load this bad boy up. So one thing to know, okay, so now that I've got this thing is hot. This thing's got a new primer in it. You switch the bases. That's the instructions go over that. So if you follow the instructions, you won't go wrong with that. Now I use the petroleum jelly. It's cheap, works good. I don't have any issues with it. All you're going to do is just drop that down in there. Boop, it slides down pretty easily. Now, I'm going to show you. You're going to go back to the original case, the base that you used to set the primers. And you're going to use this side of it, and this is what's actually going to seat your bullet. And so what you're going to do, you're going to sit this on top of there, and you're going to drive it down until it hits the top of this collar. Now, what's important to talk about is that there has to be, you know, there's no adjustment made into this. The adjustment is made into this thing. There's a lock, you know, there's a lock nut here, or like a lock washer. I would call that a lock nut. But what you can do, you can screw it up. You basically screw this thing out, and when you drive it down, what that does, it allows you to seat the bullet, and you want to work your way down until you get to the right depth. Now, the reason it's so important to have your cases all trimmed the same, and that's what, you know, this case trimmer works good, is that if you have a case that is longer and then you had a case that was shorter, and you set your adjustment to the shorter case, when you go to your longer case and you put it in there and you beat it down, your bullet's going to be set deeper into that casing. So that's why it's good that you really want to have everything real uniform. So let's go ahead, and I'm just going to go with the pre-adjustment that I had on it, and let's see how that does for us. That's it. Just listen to the sound. Oh yeah, that's pretty good. Okay, so here we have a 4570. Now this has no crimp on it. Let me show you if you want to put a crimp on it. Now what I just had this thing on here like this. If I want to put a crimp on it, I flip it over. And the crimp, the only thing about this, the crimp is the only thing that's kind of, practice the crimp. I learned you just kind of got to put some force into it. So what we're going to do here, let's check the overall. Maximum overall length is 2.550. So we'll check our overall length here. And if anybody ever wants me to do a video on how to use these things, I'd be happy to do that too. Okay, so it's 2.550. So what I've got 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I'm at 33. So really what I'm at is 2.533. That's what I'm at, 2.533. So I'm good. I'm below the maximum length of 2.550. So we're good with that. So that was real simple. Didn't take long. It's simple to, really get into. That's why I recommend these kits, is because it takes you from 0 to actually reloading in the shortest route. So I hope this video kind of changed your mind about reloading. I hope it convinces you that you can do it, and you don't have to spend $100, hundreds of dollars to start doing it. That's one that I've loaded. I loaded that in the past, but like I said, this was a stepping stone for me. It was somewhere that I started, and I've moved on since then. But the only reason I would say that I've moved on is because the Lee is limited in the calibers that they make these in now. So if you're just going to reload basic calibers, I mean, that's a decent little round. And I've been shooting these things 100 yards. I'm real pleased with them. In fact, I mean, for 4570, this is the only thing that I'm using to reload 4570. So hope that was helpful to you, and I'll probably go ahead and reload a few more of these. There's no point in being I got all this stuff out. Might as well go ahead and do it. It actually doesn't take that long. So anyway, hope you tune back in. If you liked the video, subscribe to my channel. I'd appreciate that. I'm going to try to have some more videos put up here that kind of maybe help you be more self-reliant. And whenever there's the next ammo shortage or the threat of a gun grab, I want you to be like me. I want you to be not as concerned. It's still important to vote. It's still important to express our opinions. But you don't have to go into that panic mode. That's not really necessary. So God bless, and I hope everything turns out good for us.